Kale's boots clicked softly against the smooth, metallic floor of the alien palace. He had walked through countless spaceports and visited dozens of planets in his years as an explorer. But nothing had prepared him for this. The palace stretched in all directions, high ceilings glowing with soft lights, and walls that seemed to shift color as he moved. He had been summoned by the alien princess, Liara, a leader whose reputation for intelligence and command was known across her sector of the galaxy. The invitation itself carried weight, but he had not anticipated the strangeness of entering a world so different from his own. As Kale approached the chamber where he was to meet the princess, he could hear the faint hum of energy fields, the subtle vibration that marked the advanced technology of Liara's civilization. He hesitated for a moment at the threshold, adjusting the strap of his utility belt, which held tools and communication devices. He reminded himself to remain calm, respectful, and cautious. After all, he was a guest in a place where customs were not his own, and any wrong move could insult the princess or her people. He took a slow breath and stepped forward, expecting to see a regal figure seated in a grand room. What he did not expect was to see Liara in a moment of complete vulnerability. She was turned away from him, her back straight but tense, as if she had been preparing for something delicate. Her eyes widened at the sound of his footsteps. She froze, clearly shocked by the sudden presence of a human in her private space. Kale immediately stopped. He raised a hand in a gesture of peace and said, "I apologize. I did not mean to startle you." His voice was calm, steady, and sincere. He could see that her species reacted differently to unexpected intrusion, and he had no intention of disrespecting her. Liara's shock did not fade instantly. Her expression was a mixture of surprise, embarrassment, and curiosity. Kale noticed how fragile she appeared in that moment, not weak in spirit, but caught off guard physically. Something had left her vulnerable, he could not yet tell what, but it was clear she was unprepared for visitors. His training in diplomacy told him that his next actions could define the entire relationship he would have with her people. I was not expecting anyone," she said, her voice slightly trembling but clear. She turned slightly, just enough to meet his gaze, and Kale saw intelligence in her eyes, sharp and assessing, but also a flicker of uncertainty. Kale gave a small nod, keeping his distance. "I understand. Please, take your time. I can wait outside if that is better." His words were genuine, a promise that he would not rush her or make her feel uncomfortable. Liara hesitated, and then slowly relaxed her stance. She gestured for him to remain, though the tension in her shoulders lingered. Kale stepped forward, carefully keeping a respectful distance. He noticed the subtle details of the room. Walls that seemed alive with shifting colors, small floating lights that moved in patterns across the ceiling, and intricate symbols etched into the floor. Every element reflected a culture highly advanced, deeply artistic, and precise. You do not seem afraid," she said finally, her voice softening. "Many who enter here are nervous or cautious. You carry yourself with a human kind of confidence, I think." Kale smiled faintly. "I am not fearless. I just try to understand before I act. I respect your space, your customs, and your privacy." He could see her studying him, evaluating whether his words were true or merely polite formality. He remained steady, allowing her to sense that he was honest. After a long pause, Liara's expression shifted from tension to curiosity. She motioned toward a chair across the room. "Sit. I suppose it is time we talk." Kale accepted the gesture with a nod, moving carefully to the chair. As he seated himself, he kept his posture relaxed but alert, ready to respond to anything unusual. "I should explain," Liara said, her voice still quiet but firmer now. "There are things about my people and my condition that are not obvious to outsiders. I was in the midst of a ritual when you arrived. It is not dangerous, but it is deeply personal. I was unprepared for visitors." Kale listened attentively. "I understand. Whatever it is, I will respect it. I am here to assist, not to judge or interfere." Her eyes flicked over him, sharp and analytical, yet a hint of relief softened her expression. You are different from others. Humans. You are bold, yet careful. I have not met many like you. Kale nodded. I suppose boldness is sometimes necessary when exploring unknown worlds. But care is always essential. Liara studied him a moment longer, and then her posture relaxed further. She gestured to a console beside her. I may need your assistance. This ritual, while private, involves stabilizing certain energy flows in my body. My species is highly sensitive to these energies, and mistakes can cause imbalance. I cannot do it alone. Kale's mind worked quickly. He had experience with complex machinery, with alien technology, and with delicate operations. While this was unlike anything he had encountered before, he could follow instructions and act with precision. Tell me what to do. I will help in any way I can. Liara gave a small nod, a mixture of relief and trust in her eyes. She instructed him carefully, and Kale followed each step with focus, ensuring that he was precise, deliberate, and gentle. The task required coordination, attention, and patience, qualities Kale had developed over years of exploration. As they worked together, a subtle bond began to form. Liara observed Kale's calm, logical approach, impressed by his ability to adapt quickly without overstepping boundaries. Kyle noticed her intelligence, her composure under stress, and her quiet strength. Though she had appeared vulnerable at first, it became clear that her vulnerability was situational, not a flaw in character. Humans, she said after a moment, her tone thoughtful. You surprise me. You do not rush. You do not assume. Yet you act decisively when required. Many of my own advisors lack this balance. Kale shrugged slightly. Perhaps it is the nature of exploration. We humans often face situations we cannot predict. We learn to be both cautious and bold. Liara considered his words. I see. Perhaps that is why you are here. Perhaps your people are destined to be more than outsiders in this galaxy. Perhaps there is something about humans that even we have underestimated. The statement hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Kale did not respond immediately. He simply continued his careful work, focusing on the ritual. Yet he felt a spark of something important, forming an understanding, a connection, a potential for trust and collaboration that transcended the differences between species. When the task was complete, Liara exhaled deeply, visibly more relaxed. She turned to face him fully, her eyes meeting his. You have helped me today, Kale, more than I expected. You have not only assisted with the ritual, but you have shown respect, patience, and strength. These are qualities my people value greatly. Kale nodded, feeling a quiet sense of accomplishment. I only did what anyone should do in such a situation. Respect and care should always come first. For the first time, Liara allowed herself a small smile. Perhaps we will see what humans can do in the wider galaxy. Perhaps your people will teach us new ways to think, to act, to survive. Kale returned her smile, a mix of humility and pride. I hope we can learn from each other, Princess. That is how progress happens. Through understanding, cooperation, and trust. The moment was interrupted by a gentle chime from the palace system, signaling that the next session of the Royal Council would begin. Liara straightened, regaining her regal composure, but the warmth in her eyes remained. She looked at Kale with a mix of respect and curiosity. You may accompany me, if you wish. There is much to see, and perhaps more to learn. But I warn you, my world is not always as calm as this room. Kyle nodded, ready to follow her lead. I am ready. As they moved toward the council chambers, Kale realized that the initial shock, the moment of vulnerability, had changed something. It had set the foundation for trust and mutual respect. He understood that his role here was not just as a visitor, but potentially as an ally, a bridge between humans and Liara's people. The palace corridors stretched ahead, glowing with soft lights and intricate designs, a world unlike any he had seen. Kale knew challenges awaited, and dangers might arise, yet he felt a quiet confidence, grounded in the knowledge that respect, patience, and courage could overcome fear and uncertainty. Liara walked beside him, still wary but no longer alarmed. She had seen the strength of human character firsthand, and Kale, for his part, had glimpsed the intelligence, resilience, and depth of the alien princess. The future was uncertain, but the first step had been taken, a step that would shape both their fates in ways neither could yet imagine. And as the doors to the council chamber opened before them, Kale knew one thing clearly. This encounter, this moment of vulnerability and trust, had changed everything. Kale followed Liara through the wide corridors of the palace, his eyes taking in every detail. The walls shimmered with a soft iridescence, and symbols glowed faintly beneath his feet, reacting to their movement. He could feel the energy of the building, something alive, something almost aware of their presence. Liara moved with grace, her posture confident despite the earlier vulnerability, and Kale admired how she carried the weight of her position with quiet strength. They entered the council chamber, a vast room filled with representatives of Liara's people. Each figure was unique in form and attire, yet all exuded authority and intelligence. Kale felt a mix of awe and cautious curiosity. He had seen many alien cultures, but this was a level of sophistication that few could imagine. Liara stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "These are my advisors. They oversee the operations of our world, our trade networks, and our defenses. We face challenges every day, and the choices we make shape the future of our people." The advisors turned toward Kale, their expressions ranging from curiosity to polite skepticism. He understood that, as a human, he was an outsider, someone whose presence might be questioned. He remained composed, meeting their gazes with calm confidence. One of the advisors, an elder with long, luminous robes, spoke first. "Princess Liara, this human has come to our world. What is his purpose?" Liara glanced at Kale, her eyes softening. "His purpose is not to interfere, but to assist and observe. He has demonstrated understanding, patience, and respect. I believe he has qualities that may benefit our people." Kale bowed slightly in acknowledgement. "I am here to learn, to help where I can, and to build trust between our worlds." A murmur passed through the council. Some seemed impressed, while others remained cautious. Kale could feel the weight of their scrutiny, yet he did not falter. He had faced difficult situations before, and he knew that confidence, combined with humility, was the best approach. The elder advisor spoke again. "Very well. We will observe him. But be aware, human, that our world is not as simple as yours. Decisions carry consequences far beyond what you may expect." Kale nodded. "I understand. I am ready to learn." Liara guided him to a smaller room connected to the main chamber. "I want you to see more than the formalities," she said. "There are tasks that require precision, intelligence, and judgment. These are the areas where humans often excel, even in ways my own people may not expect." The room contained a complex console, lights blinking and shifting in patterns that Kale could barely comprehend. Liara explained that it controlled energy distribution across their planet, ensuring stability in climate, power, and essential systems. A small mistake could cause widespread disruption. "You will assist me with monitoring the systems," Liara said. "I will guide you, but you must act carefully." Kale approached the console, his fingers hovering over the controls. The interface responded to his touch, sensors reading his intentions and adjusting displays accordingly. He marveled at the technology, far beyond anything humans had achieved, yet the principles were familiar: logic, patterns, and cause and effect. As they worked together, Kale asked questions, listened carefully, and made observations. He suggested small adjustments based on his understanding of systems engineering, and Liara nodded thoughtfully. Each recommendation was considered, not dismissed, which impressed Kale. It was rare to find someone so willing to consider ideas from an outsider, even one as different as a human. "You have a unique perspective," Liara said at one point. "Humans approach problems differently, You think linearly, step by step, yet with creativity. That is not common among my people, who often rely on intuition and experience alone. Kale smiled faintly. Perhaps it is our survival instinct. We have learned to adapt to many worlds, many dangers. Sometimes careful analysis is the only way to ensure success. Liara studied him for a moment, her gaze intense yet not threatening. You may be right. There is much we can learn from each other. Perhaps this partnership will be valuable in ways neither of us yet understands. Suddenly, the console emitted a soft alarm. A minor fluctuation had appeared in the energy grid. Liara's expression tightened as she assessed the situation. Kale stepped forward instinctively. Show me what to do, he said. I can help stabilize it. Liara guided him through the process. Step by step, he followed her instructions, adjusting energy flows and monitoring readings. The fluctuation began to stabilize, returning the system to balance. Liara watched closely, her eyes reflecting a mixture of relief and admiration. You acted quickly and accurately, she said, once the issue was resolved. Many of my own technicians would have hesitated. You have value here, Kale. Beyond what you may realize. Kale nodded, feeling a sense of accomplishment. I only did what was necessary. It seems your people's systems are intricate but predictable with the right approach. Liara's lips curved in a faint smile. Predictable, yes, but only to those willing to understand them fully. You have demonstrated patience and attention qualities we value greatly. The moment passed, and Liara motioned for him to follow her back to the main chamber. There is more to observe, she said. You will see how decisions in one area ripple across many others. It is not just technology, it is culture, diplomacy, and responsibility. As they moved through the palace, Kale noticed small acts of consideration from the princess. She introduced him to staff members, explaining their roles and responsibilities. She allowed him to ask questions freely, never dismissing his curiosity. Kale realized that trust was being built, not through force or authority, but through mutual respect and openness. Later, they entered a balcony that overlooked the city beyond the palace walls. The skyline was unlike anything Kale had seen. A mixture of advanced architecture, floating platforms, and vibrant lights. Vehicles moved along invisible pathways, and the entire city seemed alive with energy. Liara watched the scene silently for a moment, then spoke. This is my responsibility, she said quietly. Every light, every movement, every citizen, my decisions affect them all. The weight is constant, and mistakes are costly. Kale followed her gaze, understanding the enormity of her role. You carry this weight well, he said. It is not easy to balance power and responsibility. Liara's eyes met his. Your species is different. Humans often face dangers that test not just strength, but character. I think that is why I am intrigued by you. You show qualities that are rare here. Courage, empathy, and calmness under pressure. Kale felt a quiet warmth at her words. I am honored. And I believe that even in your world, such qualities can make a difference. Perhaps we can learn from each other. Liara nodded. Perhaps. But learning requires trust. And trust is earned through actions. You have taken the first steps, Kale. And that has not gone unnoticed. As night approached, the palace began to glow softly with internal lights, reflecting the rhythms of the city below. Kale and Liara returned to the inner chambers, where they discussed matters of diplomacy, cultural exchange, and potential collaboration. Kale listened intently, offering insights when appropriate, but always deferring to Liara's expertise. You are patient, she said at one point, a note of amusement in her voice. Many humans would rush, wanting to prove themselves. You take time to observe, to understand first. That is wise, Kale smiled. Perhaps it is also cautiousness. I have learned that rushing often causes more problems than it solves. Liara laughed softly, a sound that resonated warmly in the chamber. Then we are agreed on something. Caution, tempered by action, is valuable. The hours passed quickly. Kale realized he had spent an entire day with Liara, witnessing not just her authority, but her character, the intellect, the integrity, and the quiet strength that defined her. He began to understand why her people revered her, not just as a princess, but as a leader capable of guiding a civilization. Finally, Liara rose and gestured toward the exit. You have seen much today, Kale. But tomorrow brings new challenges. I hope you will remain ready. For the work of understanding, collaboration, and protection is only beginning. Kale stood as well, feeling a mix of anticipation and respect. I am ready, and I am grateful for your trust. Liara's gaze lingered on him, a mixture of curiosity and respect mirrored in her eyes. Then rest well, human. Tomorrow we continue. There is much to see, and much to learn. Kale left the chamber, stepping into the quiet corridors of the palace. Though the day had been filled with unexpected events and lessons, he felt a sense of purpose he had not experienced before. He was not just a visitor here. He was an ally. Someone whose actions and decisions could influence the course of this world in meaningful ways. As he looked up at the stars through the palace windows, Kale understood one thing clearly. The challenges ahead would not be easy, but with trust, respect, and courage, humans and aliens alike could achieve far more together than apart. And he knew that this partnership with Liara was only the beginning of a journey that would test his abilities, his wisdom, and his humanity in ways he had never imagined. The sun on Liara's world was setting, casting long, soft shadows across the palace and the city below. Kale walked beside the princess, feeling the weight of the day's events. The lessons, observations, and tasks of the morning had already left him exhausted. Yet he felt energized by the knowledge that his actions mattered. Today had been more than diplomacy or observation. It had been an opportunity to prove human capability in ways beyond raw strength. Liara stopped at the balcony overlooking the city, her hands resting lightly on the railing. Kale, she said, her voice quiet but serious. There is something you must understand. Our world is not always calm. Even with all our technology and intelligence, threats exist. Forces from outside, and sometimes from within, seek to disrupt peace. You must be prepared for what is coming. Kale nodded, already sensing the gravity in her tone. I am ready, Princess. I will do what is necessary to help. Liara's eyes held his, sharp and unwavering. We will soon face a situation that will test not only your skills, but your judgment, courage, and the very principles you carry as a human. Are you willing to face this challenge? I am, Kale replied, his voice steady. He had faced danger in many forms, but he understood that this would be different. The stakes were higher here, affecting not just one life, but an entire civilization. Before he could ask for details, a sudden alarm blared throughout the palace. Lights flashed red along the corridors and consoles, and the air seemed to vibrate with urgency. Liara's expression hardened instantly. It is the outer perimeter, she said. A faction from the neighboring sector has breached our defenses. Their ships are attacking our transport hubs, trying to destabilize our systems. We must act immediately. Kale felt a rush of adrenaline, his training as an explorer kicking in. What can I do to help? Liara gestured to the nearest console. Monitor energy flows and defensive shields. Assist my engineers in stabilizing the systems while I coordinate countermeasures. We cannot allow them to disrupt the city. Kale moved quickly, analyzing the holographic display. Streams of energy rippled across the planetary shields, and he could see weak points forming where the attackers were pressing hardest. Using his experience in engineering and problem-solving, he began to suggest adjustments, rerouting power, and reinforcing vulnerable areas. Liara watched him closely, her eyes reflecting both concern and admiration. You adapt quickly, Kale. That is human ingenuity. Many of my own people hesitate when faced with unforeseen problems. You act decisively. Kale's fingers flew over the interface, executing adjustments in real time. He coordinated with the palace engineers, guiding them to prioritize key nodes and redirect energy efficiently. Slowly but surely, the shields began to hold, stabilizing the city's defenses. Outside the palace, the alien faction's ships advanced, sleek and menacing. Kyle could see them through the palace's observation windows, their weapons probing for weaknesses. Liara remained calm, issuing orders to her forces with precision. But Kale noticed the strain in her posture. The pressure of responsibility weighed heavily. Yet, she remained composed. "They are smart," she said, her voice steady. "But they underestimate humans." Kale looked at her, surprised. "You think humans can make a difference in this fight?" Liara's gaze met his, unwavering. "I have seen it today. Your ability to act decisively, to think logically while remaining calm, is rare. It can turn the tide in unexpected ways. You have already proven yourself." The battle continued, tension rising with every moment. Kale coordinated energy reroutes, stabilized critical systems, and suggested tactical diversions based on patterns he noticed in the attacker's approach. His human perspective, combined with Liara's knowledge of her technology, created a powerful synergy. At one point, a critical node was hit, and the city's energy grid wavered. Kale acted instantly, rerouting power manually and stabilizing the systems. A cheer rose among the engineers, and Liara's lips curved in a small, approving smile. "You are more capable than I expected," she said quietly. "Humans have a resilience that is remarkable. Even under pressure, you find solutions." Kale shook his head, focused on the task at hand. "It is not just me. We are working together. Your guidance makes this possible." As the battle raged, Kale noticed a weakness in the enemy's formation. Using a combination of energy projections and shield maneuvers, he suggested a counter-strategy to Liara. She considered it for a moment and then issued orders based on his plan. The attackers faltered, their advance slowed, and the city's defenses held stronger than before. "Your insight is valuable, Kale," Liara said, her tone now carrying respect rather than observation. "You see patterns that even my best strategists might miss. That is human strength. That is why you are here." The tide of the battle began to shift. Kale continued to coordinate, ensuring that critical areas remained protected. He adapted to each new challenge, demonstrating ingenuity and calm under pressure. For the first time, some of the council members, who had been skeptical of him, nodded in quiet acknowledgement. Finally, after hours of intense activity, the enemy ships began to retreat, their attacks thwarted by the combined efforts of Kale, Liara, and her engineers. The palace's systems stabilized fully, and the city below remained unharmed. Liara exhaled deeply, her posture finally relaxing. "It is over. For now." She turned to Kale, her expression one of genuine admiration. "You have proven that humans are not just observers. You are capable allies. You acted with wisdom, courage, and respect. That is more than I could have hoped for." Kale allowed himself a small smile, exhausted but satisfied. "I only did what was necessary. Your people have remarkable technology and strategy. It was an honor to work with you." Liara studied him, her eyes thoughtful. "Honor is mutual, Kale. Today, you have shown that humans are not just capable of survival. They can inspire confidence, create solutions, and make a meaningful difference even in worlds far beyond their own." The palace slowly returned to normal, lights dimming to their soft glow, and the hum of energy returning to steady rhythm. Liara gestured toward a private chamber. "Rest now. You have earned it. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, and I will need your skills again. But tonight, take a moment to reflect on what has been accomplished." Kale followed her, his mind still active, but filled with a sense of achievement. He had faced a test far beyond anything he could have imagined, and he had passed not through force alone, but through intelligence, cooperation, and calm action. As he settled in the chamber, he thought about the bond forming between him and Liara. It was not friendship in the traditional sense, nor was it familiarity, yet it was trust, respect, and mutual understanding. He had seen her strength, her wisdom, and her care for her people, and she had seen his courage, ingenuity, and reliability. Together, they had prevented disaster. Liara entered quietly, standing near the doorway. "Kale," she said softly. "Tonight, you have done more than stabilize systems. You have shown my people the value of a human ally. That is a rare gift. I hope you understand the importance of what you have done." Kale looked up at her, humbled. "I understand, Princess. And I will continue to act in the same way. Whatever challenges come." She nodded, a faint smile on her lips. "Then rest now. Tomorrow, we will continue to explore what humans can do here, and what my people can learn from you. Together, we may face challenges that are greater than today, but I have confidence that we can overcome them." Kale lay back, thinking of the day's events. He had entered the palace as an outsider, uncertain of his place. By evening, he had proven himself capable, valuable, and trusted. The alien princess had not just accepted him, she had acknowledged the qualities of his species that made humans extraordinary. He realized that the future of this partnership held endless possibilities, and that the actions of one person could ripple across worlds, influencing lives, civilizations, and perhaps the fate of an entire sector of the galaxy. As the stars outside began to twinkle, Kale felt a quiet determination. He would continue to prove that humans were not only capable, but remarkable, and he would stand by Liara. Not out of obligation, but out of the belief that courage, intelligence, and moral strength could change the course of history even in an alien world far from home. And as sleep finally overtook him, Kale dreamed not of battle, but of possibility, the potential of humans, the wisdom of aliens, and the extraordinary future that could be built when both came together. Morning light spilled across the palace, casting soft patterns on the iridescent walls. Kale awoke to the quiet hum of the energy systems he had helped stabilize the previous day. The events of the last 24 hours weighed heavily on him. But he felt a strange sense of pride. He had faced unexpected challenges, acted decisively under pressure, and earned the respect of an alien civilization. Yet, he knew today could bring even greater trials. Liara entered the chamber quietly, her presence commanding without force. She moved to stand beside him, her eyes scanning the horizon through the balcony's wide window. "Kale," she said softly, "we have confirmed that the faction from yesterday was only the first wave. Others may be planning their approach. We cannot afford complacency." Kale stood immediately. "What is our plan?" he asked. The adrenaline from the previous day was still fresh, sharpening his focus. Liara gestured to a series of holographic displays that filled the room. They showed the positions of planetary defenses, the locations of critical infrastructure, and simulations of potential threats. "We must strengthen our outer defenses, ensure our supply routes remain intact, and coordinate with our allies. But there is more. Intelligence suggests that a hidden attack may come from within. We need to prepare for sabotage as well as assault." Kale's mind raced. Human experience had taught him that layered threats required layered solutions. "We can create a system to monitor both the external and internal risks simultaneously. I can help design protocols to detect anomalies and respond in real time." Liara studied him for a moment. "Your suggestions yesterday were effective. If you think this approach can work, I will trust your judgment." Working side by side, Kale and Liara spent hours developing defensive strategies. Kale guided the engineers in implementing safeguards, creating redundancies, and monitoring weak points. His suggestions were practical, grounded in human reasoning, and adapted to alien technology with surprising ease. Liara observed, offering guidance and insight when needed, but allowing Kale to apply his methods. By midday, a sense of cautious optimism filled the palace. Kale had not only helped reinforce the city's defenses, but had also earned the trust of the council and engineers. Even skeptics nodded in quiet approval, acknowledging the value of his human perspective. Just as they completed the preparations, the alarm sounded again. This time, The threat was unmistakable. Ships of the opposing faction appeared near the planet's outer orbit, moving in coordinated formations. At the same moment, sensors indicated unusual activity in one of the city's energy hubs, an internal attempt at sabotage. Liara's eyes narrowed. It has begun. Kale, we must act quickly. Kale moved to the nearest control station. Show me the energy hub, he said, analyzing the data. He could see irregular power spikes and disruptions that threatened to overload the system. We need to isolate this section, divert energy, and track the source. Liara gave precise instructions to the security teams, while Kale guided the engineers in executing rapid adjustments. The internal threat was subtle, requiring careful handling. Any misstep could trigger a cascade failure. And Kale worked quickly, calmly, and methodically. At the same time, Liara coordinated the planetary defenses, directing ships to intercept the incoming fleet. Her voice remained calm, but her focus was intense. Kale could see the strain on her, and he understood that leadership meant carrying the weight of countless lives. Yet she never wavered, and her confidence inspired those around her. Kale detected the origin of the sabotage. A small, cloaked vessel had infiltrated the city's outer ring. Using the systems at his disposal, he traced its energy signature and provided instructions to the security teams on the ground. With careful precision, the vessel was intercepted before it could cause harm. The internal threat was neutralized. Liara glanced at Kale, admiration clear in her expression. You acted quickly and decisively. You see things others might miss. And your timing is impeccable. Kale shook his head modestly. I only reacted to what I could see. Your guidance made it possible to respond effectively. The external threat required a different approach. The attacking fleet had superior numbers. But Kale noticed a pattern in their maneuvers. Using his understanding of strategy and timing, he suggested a series of tactical diversions, reinforcing key points while drawing the enemy into controlled zones. Liara considered the plan carefully, then issued orders based on his strategy. As the battle unfolded, the combination of Kale's tactical insight and Liara's leadership began to turn the tide. The enemy ships, expecting simple resistance, were now forced to contend with unexpected maneuvers. Carefully timed counterattacks and defensive coordination, unlike anything they had anticipated. The city's shields held firm, energy flows remained stable, and critical systems were protected. Kale continued to monitor both the external and internal threats, adjusting in real time as conditions changed. His calm presence and precise actions gave confidence to the engineers and security teams. And Liara's people responded with renewed determination. After hours of intense engagement, the enemy fleet began to retreat. The coordinated assault had failed, and the hidden internal threat had been contained. Liara exhaled deeply, her posture finally relaxing as the city's systems stabilized completely. You have done more than I expected, Kale, she said, her voice carrying both relief and admiration. Your insight, courage, and ability to act under pressure have saved lives today. Kyle allowed himself a small smile, though exhaustion weighed on him. It was not just me. Your leadership, the dedication of your people, and the teamwork we shared made it possible. Liara stepped closer, her eyes reflecting both respect and something deeper. A recognition of the bond formed through shared struggle. Today, humans have proven that they are not only capable of survival, but of excellence. You embody qualities that inspire trust, courage, and hope. I have seen it firsthand. Kale felt a quiet warmth at her words. He had entered this world as an outsider, uncertain and cautious. By the end of this day, he had become a trusted ally, someone whose actions and decisions had tangible impact. The palace slowly returned to calm. Lights dimmed to their normal glow, and the hum of energy resumed its steady rhythm. Liara led Kale to a private chamber, where they could speak without interruption. You have faced challenges greater than most humans could imagine, Liara said. Yet you handled them with intelligence, courage, and respect. That is why I value your presence here. Not because of your species, but because of your character. Kale nodded, humbled. Thank you, Princess. I have learned a great deal from you as well. Your guidance, wisdom, and leadership have shown me what is possible when courage meets responsibility. Liara's gaze softened. We have formed a partnership today, Kale. One built on trust, understanding, and mutual respect. That is rare between species and even rarer under pressure. You have proven yourself an ally not only to me, but to my people. Kale considered her words carefully. I will continue to uphold that trust, Princess. Whatever challenges come next, I will face them with the same dedication and care. She smiled faintly. Then we are agreed. Together, we can achieve far more than either of our species could alone. Today, we have not only defended our world, but shown that cooperation, intelligence, and courage can overcome even the most daunting threats. Kyle felt a sense of fulfillment he had rarely experienced. The trials of the day had tested his abilities, his judgment, and his character. He had acted not out of desire for recognition, but out of necessity, respect, and a desire to protect life. And in doing so, he had demonstrated the strength of humanity, its ingenuity, resilience, and moral compass. Liara placed a hand lightly on the railing, looking out over the city. The day is won, but the future remains uncertain. There will be more challenges, more tests of skill, judgment, and trust. But today has shown what is possible when two worlds work together. I have confidence in that possibility now. Kale followed her gaze, seeing the city bathed in the soft light of its twin suns. He realized that the true victory was not merely in repelling the attackers, but in forging a bond of trust, respect, and collaboration between human and alien. That bond, he understood, could shape the future in ways no technology or weapon could. Liara turned to him, her eyes reflecting both relief and quiet pride. Rest now, Kale. You have earned it. But remember, the alliance we have begun is only the start. Your actions have proven that humans are capable of extraordinary things, and I have no doubt we will face new challenges together. Kale nodded, feeling both exhaustion and satisfaction. I will be ready, and I am grateful for your trust, Princess. As he lay down to rest, Kale reflected on the events of the past days, the unexpected encounter, the lessons, the challenges, and the trust earned. He realized that being human in this vast galaxy was not a limitation, but a strength. Ingenuity, courage, empathy, and determination were qualities that transcended species and could inspire change on a planetary scale. Liara's people had seen it today. He had seen it too, and in that understanding, Kale knew that this was only the beginning of a journey that would test both worlds, forge new alliances, and perhaps change the course of history. As the palace settled into quiet, Kale closed his eyes, confident in the knowledge that humans could rise to any challenge, no matter how alien the world, and that trust, respect, and courage would guide them through even the darkest times. The future remained uncertain, but for the first time, Kale felt a deep sense of purpose. He had entered Liara's world as an outsider, but he would leave as an ally, a trusted companion, and a representative of the potential of humanity. And in that thought, he found peace, strength, and a resolve to continue proving that humans, when faced with the unknown, could not only survive, they could excel, inspire, and protect.